Are you constantly worried about walking on eggshells? Like, what does this actually mean? It means that you're actually stepping through life worried about the response of the partner that you're with. The person that's in your life, you're unsure what's going to happen. Now, when we talk through walking on eggshells, like you're literally trying to step through life without cracking the fabric of that person's reality that's going to make a huge reaction, a huge blow up, a huge argument happen towards you. It's the kind of thing where you're not sure as you step into the house how his reaction is going to be. Is he going to be nice? Is he going to be mean? Is he going to be Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde? Like, which is he actually going to be today? You might have already seen this. You might have already experienced this in the relationship where you're like, I don't know how he's going to respond. One day he comes home and it's great. Like, he's telling me about his great day. He's even like talking to me a little bit. I'm able to share a little bit about mine. And the next day he walks in and he's like death warmed over. He's like, I hate you. Like, I hate being in this relationship. This relationship is awful. And it's just like, you don't know what is going to set him off. You've had this in different instances where you've done the same thing. Like, let's say you've made the same meal like 3 times, like ever, and you've made the same thing. And he's like, one time he loves it. Next time he hates it. The other time he's like, it's okay. Like, you're going to get this change in opinions, almost like the change of the wind, blowing one direction, blowing the next direction, and it's going to continue to happen. And oftentimes this thing that continues to happen puts you in a state of walking on eggshells. Now, what does eggshells actually look like for you? Because obviously you're not stepping around the house, stepping on actual eggshells, right? But there's this nervousness. Like, there's this intrepidation of like, is this going to blow up? Like, can I approach him and ask him for money to pay the rent, or is he going to scream and yell at me? Like, can I actually talk to him about going out with my friends, or is he going to guilt trip me later? And then, so there's all these different pieces of like, I'm not sure what's safe. Now, here's the thing is a lot of guys, toxic guys, will look at the relationship and be like, I don't hit her. I don't abuse her. So why the hell is she feeling unsafe? She should be fine. She should feel appreciative. She should respect me. Guess what? It takes a lot more than a trained monkey to provide than it does for a man to actually show up real, raw, honest, vulnerable, showing consistent change. A lot of guys think that they've arrived at it. That they're like, I've figured it out. I can provide and I can come home and then everything else should be like all for me. No, like you're just being a lazy asshole at that point. Okay. Now, what I need you to understand is you'll get to the place where he will have this perspective of everything he's entitled to, everything's about him, and then you step in and you try to have a feeling, you try to have emotion, you try to communicate something, and you're completely disregarded. You're completely shut down. And then you're like, I don't know when it's safe. Now, remember, he's going to be thinking, I didn't hit you, so why would it not be safe? A lot of guys don't realize this emotional safety piece. And this emotional safety piece transitions into, hey, you're walking on eggshells. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. This piece has probably led to this piece of nervousness or this piece of anxiety where you've even moved into having panic attacks of like, you don't know how he's going to respond. You don't know how he's going to act. You don't know what's going to transpire in the next couple minutes because of what's just been said. Like, there's this fear. Like, let's face it, you're in a relationship with someone else that you say that you love and that he says he loves, and you're afraid of them. What piece of love matches up with fear? Like, really, what piece of love matches up with fear? Because you're in this relationship and you are afraid of the partner that you're with. You're afraid of what he's going to say. You're afraid of how he's going to degrade you. You're afraid of how he's going to hit you. You're afraid of this person. That is not love. But he'll try to convince you that it is. He'll try to convince you that this is the reality, that everybody has marriage problems, that you're struggling, and that's just normal. You just have to figure it out. You just have to communicate better. You need to get into your own counseling to figure out you so you can show up better for him. He'll blame everything on you. Like, there's so many things that will happen. Is this happening in your life right now? Like, are you at a place where the stress and anxiety is slowly eating away at your life? Eating away completely. Now, what I mean by that is you're going to see the stress and the anxiety eat away at your physical body. Your body keeps the score. Your body knows what the trauma that's happening inside. That's why you see hair loss. That's why you have autoimmune disease. That's why you have gut issues. That's why you have different problems of sleeping throughout the night. That's why you're on depression medication. Like, that's why you're taking pills, because you're not sure how to be able to work through this, because your body is physically rebelling because of all the trauma that it's going through. And that's not even to talk about like the kids. How is it affecting the kids? where they're actually afraid to talk to them. They're afraid to be able to show up. They're afraid of how can they even express anything to dad. And you spend so much time focusing on him that you're getting disconnected from your kids. Or you've told your kids that it's not that big of a deal. You're trying to guard them and keep them away, but all you're doing is enabling the behavior and enabling them to see that this is okay. And it's going to mean they end up in toxic relationships down the road because mom didn't stand up to it. Mom didn't do anything different. Like, I'm talking in like a different tone and like aggressively to be able to help just wake you up of like, this is going to damage you long term. The stress, the anxiety, walking on eggshells is going to leave you in this hyper vigilant state. Like, when you're even out of this relationship, you get into the next one and the phone dings and you're like triggered because you're like, well, who's that? Like, is that this guy's girlfriend? Like, there's going to be so many pieces you're going to have to work on healing. It is possible. And you can do it. But working through all this, you need to be able to understand walking on eggshells is not a healthy piece of a relationship. And if you feel like you're walking on eggshells, you need to understand sometimes the core baseline piece is the person that you say that you love, you actually have a fear for. And that fear doesn't have anything to do with love. It has to do with manipulation, has to do with control, has to do with coercion, has to do with so many other things than that person actually caring about you. If you're at the place where you're walking on eggshells today, please reach out for help.